This
here. He said
conference will
Elliot,
now be recorded.
sorry, he might be here now.
I don't see him. Elliot, are you on?
And now,
I'll let you know when I see him.
well, do we need this, or I mean, do I need this? Because I don't have.
Not really. I can just talk you through it. Why don't I just do that, and then if you've got questions, we can answer them as we go. So just a quick review of the agenda for the 14th. Let me go to Clark's is asked to be on action item number 5. Fuel prices are eating their lunch, so they want to do a temporary fuel surcharge increase. So I put her first. We'll have a resolution to adopt, a resolution to appropriate, a resolution to impose and categorize taxes. We used to do resolutions for workers' comp insurance, but we don't have to do that with the new company. So the last one we'll do is state shared revenue. Those are the ones we do at the start of every new fiscal year. Item 10 will be a termination of my contract, which is basically going to summarize the grants that are still outstanding and that no further administration costs will be paid for any of that. So the stuff that's been announced but hasn't funded, stuff that's been awarded but we haven't done any draws on, that kind of thing, it'll just document no further liability on the part of the city of any kind. And then it'll make my final date that night. So after agenda item number 10, I'm out. I'm going to sit down in the audience and let Quorum take over. So item 11, it will be his contract, which we will post tomorrow. So please jump on and review that. And I've worked it with Jeremy. It's going to be basically a mirror image of mine, except with the 6-month interim 90-day review, as discussed previously, base salary at the entry level of $85,000, and then we're going to document, because had this not happened, he would have gotten a step increase at his 6-month probationary end for his community development director. So it's going to document that he's dual-hatted during his interim, and that if for some reason, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if for some reason he didn't become the full-time city manager, then when he drops back in the community development director position, it will fall to that new step increase. So that will be documented so that he's protected and he's not got any risk there about his current position. And that's what we had discussed.
What about Grow?
And he'll manage Grow, and then we'll need to make some decisions about other temporary staffing, and we can do that as we get into the item 13. But as far as his contract or my termination, any questions?
What about I just got your contract from Jeremy yesterday.
That'll be on 13 too. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. All right, so item 12 is the big one, community development project funding allocation. I want to show this spreadsheet with any edits you make tonight, plus in the next item, a 5-year summary of all the money that we've spent in the community. It's a massive amount of money, way more than we've ever taken out, which is good. It shows that our strategy is creating an economic engine that's benefiting its job creation, its job preservation. It's creating a lot of value compared to the $300,000 a year we get in property tax receipts. So I think it would be useful to show that, show all the different contracts we've awarded. Occasionally we'll get somebody who pops in and wants to say some stuff about how we don't follow procurement procedures. It's going to show all the dozens and dozens of firms that we contract with throughout the valley and how much money every one of them's got. I'm going to frame it in a positive way. We're not trying to defend anything. It's just the reality is we've spent a lot of other people's money in our community, and that should be recognized. Especially because
I got a call from somebody that says, they didn't know. Well, I don't know if they knew about the demolition of the pool, but they said I never got a chance to bid on it. How did you let that out? And I go, well, it goes through our engineer and he puts it out through the.
Yeah, we typically send it out to 8 companies, and then if somebody says, well, I didn't get it, then we've only had one do that, and he had been getting them and never responded.
That's what I know.
And so Joe pulled him off because he was like, well, he doesn't ever even acknowledge receiving the RFPs. So some of that is like, I don't know. I mean, we could publish every one of them in the newspaper, but in my mind, it never gets other bids. It makes the public aware, I guess, if they read that section, but it doesn't result in other bids. So I have not done that in the 5 years I've been here, unless it's mandated by the grant agreement. It's expensive. You're paying to publish something that doesn't really have any tangible impact.
I'm sure he's looking at that, whatever we're sending out, he's looking at that because other people advertise that way too, or?
Well, some public agencies advertise in the newspaper, but it's because they don't do a lot of work. And so it's like, this is how they get the word out.
But my point is, would he be looking at that anyway and just not responding to ours?
I don't know.
Okay.
But
is that how he?
But you register your email address. And we just tell people this is how we do it. We register your email address, and if it's a larger one, we post it on the city website too.
Huh.
So if you're, and call me, and call Joe, call Aaron. I mean, we'll put you on the list. We'll be on the list. But anyway,
we put it back on. So.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I hope he wins the job.
Yeah.
All right. So for the community development funding program allocation, the items in yellow we have to discuss, but I want to go through the whole spreadsheet with you.
Okay.
So at the very bottom under community development, we appropriated, and this will be in the resolution, $593,688. We lumped it all into building improvements. Once the budget's passed, staff can split that out to as many small pieces as makes sense. But for the budget, we've got $593,688 in one line item in the community development fund. So the way you read these from our ledger code, 65,200 is the line item. The middle number is the fund. So community development fund in the budget is fund 10. And then the department within the fund is the 3-digit code to the right. So this is within fund 1 of within department 1 of fund 10, we have a line item in capital outlay that's 65,200 and says building improvement. What we, staff, came up with for an allocation of how to spend that money, and this is where we want your feedback because it's shown in yellow at the top, but it's also shown line item down below. We need to set aside $101,125 for the Gleason pool demo. That's all in cost, design, survey, engineering, everything. $100,000 was what we put in as a placeholder for the plus up from the city on the $200,000 that we had already budgeted. So there was $200,000 in its own line item. We're recommending we add another $100,000, which would put us at $300,000 total, but not the 4, because we'd like to peel off $25K to do the parking area at what was going to be the library site. Take out the fence, put down some rock, open that up for temporary parking. We're not proposing to finish it this fiscal year because we need the current building on. But we thought $25K would allow us to open it up and make it available for oversized vehicle parking. It could be gravelled. We could put those pink feathery looking things. It's not the technical name for them. The whiskers. Thank you, Dave. The whiskers. We could put whiskers down or something like that to delineate parking. But anyway, so we put $25K for that. $25K for Oregon Pine South cleanup, which would be getting rid of that ugly fence and tearing off the siding, the yellow siding from the sawmill, and doing some real simple landscaping of that approach into the city. So not a real deep dive, but we think with $25K we can make that look better. And then $100,000 for wayfinding and signage, which would be design and construction throughout the city. So connecting downtown to the parks and trails to each other. We'd go through a whole process to develop that signage. $50K for planter shed improvements. So doing some structural enhancements. This has matching funds from Ford available to us. And we've gotten an offer from Sean McKay to do naming rights and weekend concerts in exchange for cash, which we haven't brought a formal proposal, but the combination of the money we've already spent, Ford Family Foundation money, and if we want to pursue that deal, we could take our 50 and turn it into like 450.
Would
Rest,
that be enough to finish it?
it'd be enough to get a certificate of occupancy. It wouldn't be pretty, but it would be usable. So it'd be like new concrete floors, sandblast it, put in the structural pieces, and probably an ADA accessible restroom. Yeah. So this would be good.
But not an enclosed.
No, it wouldn't be the full design, but it would be enough to where, say, next fall, not this coming fall, but well, depends on how aggressive we get, I guess. But my thought is like, you could have the high school do homecoming in the thing. You know, you have drop down power, and they could dance out there under the planter shed.
You do the farmers market.
You do farmers market. You can have concerts. Like, we've been working with Building Codes Division. There's a way we can get a historic building like that through an adaptive process where we don't have to treat it like it's new construction and has to be brought up to current code. There's a couple of different pathways where we can make it safe. Because right now we could go in and operate it as a planter shed. I mean, it's an artifact of Oregon building codes. We can't have a high school dance in it, but we could cut timber and plane timber and use it as an extension of a mill site. It's illogical. But we would have to do things like the ADA restrooms and some of that structural reinforcement. So I want to take 50,000 and turn that into a much bigger number, and then carve out 75,000 for activations that Shot of Gold had proposed, which would leave 117,563 to finish the pit stop, which would be pavers, some type of shade structure, and we already awarded the contract for all the concrete work, so that would make that a finished project this summer. So if we were to do all of those things, we wouldn't be able to do the full 400,000 downtown, but we could do 300,000 downtown. We could do all those other projects, and that comes out to the 593,688.
Just the wheel.
Oh, go ahead.
And I would like to top out like a couple of grand out of that remainder and see if we council likes this idea, but I've been talking to Painted Sky and they want to do some downtown murals and want paint and just like a little bit of cost to frame it on doing they paint it for free. But
Well, and I can't guarantee anything, but I think we've put enough into the pit stop that we could probably get some Ford family funding for that as well. And then we could decrement our own funds and make some more money available for some of that other stuff.
Mhm.
And then since we talked about water and sewer, what I would propose to address that is, and this is where I need your feedback, but after July 1, have businesses document the period of time for which they were closed and could not conduct business due to COVID. We'll go through and credit back on a prorated basis those days for their water and sewer accounts. They'd have to apply to us and just provide some basic documentation for our files. We'd issue the credits. It'd come out of water and sewer, and it would be at the business owner's discretion if they wanted to pursue that or not.
I like it.
How do you do?
That way we're not like, hey, everyone, free money, just come on
I
down.
mean, what would that come out of?
I would just do it in our enterprise funds. I think we can just pass a resolution to that effect. As call it, rate stabilization or something. Let them apply. They can apply directly to the staff. Staff can issue the credit. Doesn't have to be public who applied.
Right.
And
How do people know?
we would pass a resolution and make the program known, and we could mail that out to business owners. Put a little something in their water bill, but then
Hey,
leave it up to
guys.
them if they would apply.
can you hear me?
Hey, Elliot. Yes.
Hey,
I'm sorry I'm late. I have a very sick child and I lost track of time, so apologize.
It's all right.
All right.
So Elliot joined us at 6:15. Thank you.
Yeah.
He was the gentleman that was at the last meeting
From leasing the greenhouse.
about leasing the green. So I think most of you know him, but his partner at Burnt River Farms, their plan was to open a dispensary in John Day, and then his partner, due to unforeseen circumstances, decided to liquidate the business. And so they're divesting their shares, cashing out, and he's creating new businesses to invest, and some of that's coming to John Day. So it's sort of a retooling of what they had originally intended to do, but he's still moving forward on everything that he had talked about with council.
So they still moving forward with their property at the industrial park?
Yeah, he hasn't changed what he's doing. It's just under different business names than what he had originally planned to do. So at any rate, one of those proposals was to look at doing naming rights. I think we can, with or without that private contribution, I think we can get a decent chunk of change to get the planer shed usable. And then because we have to trench fiber between the highway and the area that floods, not funded, our plan is, and we've got a lot of fill material coming off of 4th Avenue, our plan is to build a trail and start creating a berm for that future water Lake John Day, and have it compacted, and then site the utilities where we won't have to move them again. So we can take the spoils from one job and just have them set it there and compact it. And Iron Triangle has a rock sorter. We can sort it into the right size piles and just take a little bit of money and build up that. So anyway, Joe would have to design it, but we're going to try to create some positive benefits from one project to the other as we go. So with the
I have
second
a really quick question.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. How do I mute and unmute myself on this phone call so I don't have to be always on?
I think you can just mute your phone.
Oh, yeah, that works. Okay, that works. Easy enough.
All right.
Thank you.
So guide us, because we'll put this into the packet for decision on the 14th. Do you want to see adjustments to any of these line items in yellow?
So if we only did the 300,000, how much are we off for the total asking amount from downtown businesses?
25%. So we fund everybody 75% of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's still,
And not raise the deductible or their match, or raise their match too.
well, their match would have to go up if they want to do their project, because we're only going to give them,
I see, okay.
I mean, so their match obviously is going to go up, but their match won't change basically because our amount's going less.
Right.
So their match go
We're down.
Yeah.
We're down.
But I mean, if they want to complete their project, they're.
They'll have to put still our money.
Yeah.
But we talked last time about lowering the amount and then making the match higher, so it's been,
I would not change their match, but
Yeah.
they're going to finish their project, they're all going to have to put some more money
I-
into it.
I think it's a good faith effort, and we'll have another
I
chance
think so.
next year to supplement again for anybody who couldn't go this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, we're hearing people say we want Oregon Pine cleaned up. We're hearing people say we want to see some progress on these other things that got kicked down the priority list because we were focused on the bigger lists. But now that those are off,
Right.
I think it would be appropriate to throw some dollars at those things and see if we can do them while we're doing other projects and get
Well,
most
it's the
bang
main
for our
thing
buck.
of just painting a business as a license at the outpost. Like
Mhm.
just base paint has made it look 10 times better than what it did. So,
So what about if we were looking at the downtown sidewalk program replacement?
Mhm.
Where we had some money going in to help to kind of work on some of that?
we're gonna need
Versus non-budget.
money.
Well,
Where's that
We left it in unappropriated because there's no, we know they're not going this fiscal year. That we're lucky, they'll do it next summer. Yeah.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah, so that'll be in next year's budget with its own line item tied to their timeline, which I'm hoping will be July, August of next year.
But are we not gonna do a little bit of repair with the Camwatcha money?
We
For the
are,
really bad spot?
but that's what I'm saying. Like, this is budget between now and June 30th.
Right.
That work would start in July of next
Okay.
year, and so we'll put it in next year's budget. I want to get as much done this year as we can, and that one's just going.
so I just want to make sure that people are aware.
We planned $200,000 for sidewalk improvements, and that was in our early draft of the budget. But when they told us their timeline, I pulled it out, and we're going to kick it to next fiscal year.
And for the person doing minutes, there is ODOT,
There?
the other party.
Yeah, ODOT.
So are we not doing any repairing to sidewalks this summer?
Well, if you guys want to do repairing the sidewalks, we need to work with these numbers.
We didn't talk about that, about waiting. Actually, we talked about that, the wait. I just wanted to put it in the budget. I wanted to make sure that.
Right.
We have the,
But I thought we had some spots that we could repair.
well, we can. I mean, we have
not to-
about $100,000 in street improvement that we could use for
I'm
spots.
talking about like the broken shamble
So,
in front of some of the downtown.
If you wanted to do that, what I would recommend is let's do the ones that are in the middle that are not going to be impacted by the curb ramp replacement. Because we know, like, if it's in the middle of the block, they're not touching it.
Right,
But if it's close to a ramp, there's a good chance they're going to tear out whatever we do.
right.
So yeah, if we went through and said, okay, take the core downtown section, middle of the block, cut it out, re-pour it, we could do that.
Yeah, but the only stretch you're looking at is between Bridge and Dayton. I mean, Bridge and the intersection, Bridge Street.
West Main.
intersection,
Yeah,
Because the other stuff's all brand new.
right,
Relatively, as far as concrete's concerned, it's all brand new.
right. I'm talking like, yeah, from like Bridge to Canton, that way too, like out. Like
We could
from
do that
the
just
banks
using
and the outposts and stuff like
We could do that just doing street fund.
Although the outpost has that approach in between now.
Which they never use.
I know, but it goes up.
They're gonna tear it out. They'll redo the whole thing.
Filtering that part a little less.
Well, let me check, actually, now that I say that, because I'm wondering. No, it's on Main Street. They're gonna have to do it. I was gonna say it's not a city street, but it is a permitted approach,
right.
and that fell within the scope of the lawsuit.
But there's also like
Mm-hmm.
two more like crosswalks right there too, so they're basically have to rip out that whole.
Yeah. So this is the dilemma, right? We're like,
Right.
if we go ahead of them, there's a good
We're
chance that
wasting our money.
they're gonna just break our.
One time, didn't we talk about some kind of a compound that you kind of just skim over the sidewalk and kind of just smooth it up temporary or something when they're,
Oh yeah, and they do
did
something
we
with
talk
that.
about that? You remember talking
I
about that?
kind of remember that.
Yeah, there's a
Kind of a new,
patching.
just like you take a little section, you just kind of smooth it out, fill in the holes and.
Put a Band-Aid on it until
Yeah.
the real stuff happens. Because that's my issue, like right now, like I literally saw an elderly man pushing his wife in his wheelchair and got caught in that rubble and like almost flipped her right there.
I mean, we could identify like the most egregious sections and just eat it if it gets damaged later. And it's not the end of the world.
Right. That's what I'm worried about. Like
Well,
we're pushing tourists.
No, that's the problem. Is our ordinance is very clear.
Okay.
It's the property owner's responsibility to maintain sidewalks anywhere in the city. It's not the city's. So there's zero liability for the city. But it doesn't feel like that to the business owners, right? The business owners are like, hey, everybody walking up and down these sidewalks, why do I have to fix them? So I get that. I just, from a liability standpoint, it's not a thing, but from a
Being a good faith.
being a good neighbor kind of thing. So what if we just said, okay, from the street fund, we'll go and identify where we think we can have the most impact, fix those spots, and then if some of it gets rebuilt again a year later.
I would be comfortable with that. It's just, like, there's a couple. Yeah. I mean, if we're putting money into downtown to make things look better, but we have 2 shambles and sidewalks, like, that kind of
Do
defeats
we
the
have to put
purpose.
them in to replace the width and stuff now? I mean, isn't there a new,
We can repair them.
We can repair them.
We can repair them.
not change the width?
Yeah, basically they're patching.
Yeah.
If you replace them, yes. Everything changes.
I mean, the other problem, we need to get one of our better concrete people because
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the trailer, did you hear that?
what?
Their last load from the pool,
No,
their tilt trailer.
uh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know the trailer, but
So their last load of concrete and rebar and everything from the pool, they took it over to dump it. The rebar hung up in the trailer, flipped the trailer over, tweaked it, totaled it, lifted the truck, tweaked the frame, broke the 5th wheel off the back of the truck.
Christ.
$60,000 garbage.
well, that's got insurance on it, right?
Towing it up and down the road insurance, but not
Not,
fixing it insurance.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, bad deal.
Well, that's too bad. Okay, so we'll do that in the street fund.
Okay.
Anything else on the yellow piece at the top, the way we're divvying up that 593,000?
And that 117 will get us what, like all of phase 2?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna contract out the pavers at the same time we do the retaining wall at the 7th Street approach. It's gonna be its own schedule, but the Allen block used for the training wall is bought from the same company as the pavers. So we're gonna split it up from a contracting standpoint to see if we can save a little bit of money there. But I think with the 117, like, we would just prioritize it. So pavers first so that it looks finished, and then we could estimate what we can do for like a vertical shade structure, seating. We've already got the fire pits and all the other stuff. We've already done all the concrete contracting. Heckman's contract, I signed that today. That's included. So paving the whole street all the way back, and then all of the parking area and the concrete up to the restrooms. That alone is going to make it look way better. Pavers will cover the gravel from parking lot up to the sidewalk. And then in a year, when they do the sidewalk ramps, that front approach, that ADA approach, will be redone so that there's not a curb there and you just go straight into the improvement. But yeah, I think with that 117, maybe plus a little extra from another grant, we ought to be able to get it finished. And then that project will be done.
The Campbell parking lot. There's a building that is part of that. How are you going to renegotiate the lease or what?
That was in our resolution that we passed. So we'll give them our lease agreement with the same terms as the current one. But I mean, that fence is kind of in an awkward spot. We can get rid of that and put some gravel down and just sort of phase 0 it. We're going to make it available and then improve it as we get.
Get these cleared up with Madden's and the.
Yeah, that's ready to record. That'll be recorded prior to our closing. We're going to close this month. We got the block grant stuff taken care of. We're going to get an invitation to apply for them for the block grant, and then we'll find out in September about the congressionally directed spending request.
We got to go with the board and the foundation and everybody's on board. And cool.
Yep.
For the downtown parking restriction signs, does that include size and time?
Yeah, and we wanted to talk about that. So we've looked at different communities and how they've handled that, but within that line item that says signage, we're going to include parking signs that kind of the time, manner, and place restrictions for parking downtown. And as we go through that whole wayfinding process, we'll sit down with you guys and business owners and figure out what is everybody.
Right.
They're not all going to agree. I mean, there's businesses that shocking, right?
Crazy.
There's businesses that are using the city sidewalk or streets as their off,
Well, that's just it. I
off-site
make
parking.
it hard to complain when the business owners park on Main Street for 8 hours.
Well, there's six businesses that cause all the problems
Mhm.
in John Day downtown. The 3 restaurants, Eastern Oregon Building, or Realtor, John Day, Ford Motor, or the old Ford Motor Company. They take up pretty much all day. And Jerry Franklin's employees pretty much, and then what's her name? Janet. She never parks. She parks in the street all day. So that was one of the things we're going to talk about tonight was the solutions to downtown parking.
Well, I don't.
So what are our problems with downtown parking?
I was gonna-
Before we talk about solutions for downtown parking.
have-
What solutions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quorum, you're going to be the new guy.
Yeah.
You take this
Form of the
Yeah.
back.
The sheriff enforce our ordinances.
The police officer, doesn't it?
We can enforce our.
But who's going to do it? Who's going to enforce it?
We have code enforcer, we pay one.
I know. What do you do?
So Savannah our typical process, Savannah will send a notice of violation and give them a cure period, typically 5 to 10 days, depending on the violation.
But also the violation's like not very much.
That's $500.
Oh, I thought that was one there was like one that was like 5 or 10.
No, it's $500, and we can continue.
Parking fine was like $5.
Okay.
Right.
I knew there was like a
Develop-
$5.
So you're right. There's different codes that you can violate. The development code violations and the nuisance code violations are $250 to $500. I think it's $500 for your first offense, and then $250 a day thereafter. But Scott will go down if they don't respond to the written notice. We always try a courtesy phone call. He will go down with his same citation book that they used as law enforcement officers, and they just do an administrative citation, and it goes to the justice of the peace. It's treated just like any other ticket. So I don't know the answer to the question whether the sheriff can do it, but they've never done it in the past, and we can still do that.
And down our sheriff's office to take on another thing. Great. Nope, not happening. Well, we've got. Yeah, we paid some
Savannah's-
code enforcement.
90% of the time, Savannah's method gets it fixed. It's the couple that dig in that want to go the distance, and we've only had 2 of those in the 6 years I've been here. They both lost, and it was.
But he's back again.
Well, I know. Some of this is like personality, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I feel like on downtown parking, biggest problems are A, business owners and employees parking on Main Street for long periods of time, and B, RV parking. Those are probably your 2 biggest complaints you hear,
Mm-hmm.
because every business owner or place has a way to park off Main Street. They might have to take 15 extra steps. But guess what? Do you want the parking for your customer, or do you want it for yourself?
So B's the easier fix. We could post no RV parking and then a little RV sign with arrows to guide them around
Right.
the corner to our parking lot. And we could start there and see if that's enough. But it's not going to solve the Dayton.
Yeah.
You're gonna have, you're gonna have
Issue.
businesses that are happy with that because they feel like if there's no RV parking on Main Street, people will just continue to drive through.
I get that, but here's the,
I
know.
I have no
I know.
plan.
The hard thing is the RV parking takes up so much of it that those business owners are gonna have to just understand, we're trying to get ways for RVs to not very far walk around a corner. Like, we're trying, but it is what it is. And we've heard more from businesses, I feel like, about against RV parking than we have for RV parking.
As a restaurant that's on Main Street, I don't really see, we don't get a ton of RV
You don't, but it's farther down.
down. Because people come that way and take a left.
Yes.
So then
Yes.
that's parking right there.
Yeah.
I think there's more opportunity for them, more traffic.
I think
So if we had a sign at that intersection pointing extended vehicles that way
Yeah.
and this way,
Maybe they
make it
could-
like
Yeah.
idiot proof it. You know,
So,
like if you're ignoring those signs, it's deliberate. We just don't want to follow.
so my design solution for this, and this might kill two birds with one stone, would be to start putting in small bike cages or bike lockers every 20 or 30 feet in front of businesses. I know people ride up to 1188 and can't lock their bikes anywhere. But if you can, I don't know what the regulation is, I'm trying to do this into the highway. But if you can break up the parking spaces just in space, so you can't fit an RV in there, but even we got 15, 10, 20 feet of space.
Guys, RV parking is not the problem on Main Street.
Is it rotating vehicles, you see?
It's rotating. We have the outpost that has plenty of parking in the back for people, but nobody knows about it because they won't sign it.
Hmm.
I talked with the minister of the Methodist Church. He says, use my lot. I'm willing to let you use my lot.
Hmm.
It's right off Main Street. Have you talked to him?
Baptist.
Or the Baptist, I'm sorry, not Baptist.
No, but in that scenario, we could do a limited license where we could sign it, you know, public parking Monday through Saturday, not on Sunday. If they're willing to do that, just have a license agreement with them to allow the public to use that lot and have the city insure it as a public parking lot.
Then we can sign towards it and stuff.
And then we can sign
Were
towards
they
it.
having issues? I see they divided it up so people could.
That was for
With
their
around.
church people on
Right.
Sundays because they don't know how to park. Jesse got annoyed.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool, I, that was one of the things I was thinking we could work with them, or I hate to say this, but maybe Sean Robertson, his lot where George had all his junk parked. That might be a solution
Isn't
for
that
some of the people.
Owned by George, or
It's owned by Sean Robertson.
so he
Are you-
allows those people to park all.
Well, he did, and then he got some flack, and so then he told George wasn't doing what George was supposed to do. So
Hmm.
he's made him
Well, the
90%
The
of it.
problem with that is that hill to carry an RV up it.
No, not RV parking, but I know. Oh, you already asked him? You asked Sean, or you?
It is personally, he said no way.
Huh.
Really?
Really?
I would figure that one would say no. I'm just throwing that out there.
And I said no. Charlie, I talked to numerous people and they said no,
Hmm.
because they don't want the liability.
I think that's the biggest scare for people right now is
They're not supposed to talk, but the Bank of Eastern Oregon people, they don't have anywhere to go. I just talked to Tracy today. She said, we have nowhere else to park.
But that's all the problem tonight.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
land is lead. Lead really won't let anything.
Bank of Eastern
Yeah, it's lead behind there.
that
Huh.
gravel area. Yeah, Bank of Eastern.
I talked about the Eastern Oregon real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wild.
I'm like, wait a minute.
well,
The Eastern Oregon real estate park,
Thing.
but that's old.
That's full with the full building.
And it is true, Lens will put parking, I got a parking ticket on my car 2 days ago.
Yeah, they will.
So they will put parking tickets if we do not go into their business.
Well, I can't believe that with her property that she doesn't have an easement to at least a parking spot at her back door. I think that's
Done it
great.
3 times. The last time Marla came and yelled at me and said, I will tell you.
So we can't, like, I get it, like, it's frustrating, but like, at the same
Well-
time, if we put the limitations out there, maybe
There's that-
The limitation, what do you mean by limitation?
4-hour parking.
4-hour parking limitation. I mean, we won't,
Who's gonna?
no, we would have to enforce it initially, but so maybe we just tackle this incrementally because it's just too big of a problem to try and solve in one night. But if we have an extra acre open with this library parking lot, that's an acre more of parking than we've been using. We got 0.6 acres at the pit stop minus the space of the restroom and the plaza. Give me another 12 spots there. We put no RV sign up on Main Street and then pick a couple of streets where we want to do limited duration parking and then see, right? Let it run for a season or two, see how people respond to it, and then maybe tweak it because we're probably not going to nail this one right out of the gate.
right.
Right, no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're like this. Please provide an option in that corner, put these things in place. There's no option.
But there is options.
Let's take it down.
Like the corner, like the real estate around the corner or down Dayton or down, I mean, like, there's, no, the other side of Dayton,
Towards land title.
towards land title and stuff, there is parking that way. I'm saying people might have to walk.
You'll be in front of houses.
So you're in front of houses, like,
Business people don't want to park in front of people's houses.
hey, this,
That's not
I
the
mean,
option. I mean,
right.
then residents are going to. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to speak, but can I make a suggestion? Maybe each of those businesses that's finding that hard to place cars, maybe you could give them permits, a certain number of permits, so that they could park one or two, depending on how many employees they have, for an extended amount of time.
You mean like in her case in front of her spot in front of your building? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's an empty storefront. I'm not, I'm not taking pricing away from anybody.
Okay, that's gonna get real fun for our code person to be also, somebody parks in their parking spot.
But like she said, a parking pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what parking space you park in. If you have that sticker on your car, whether you're 3 businesses down or 4 businesses down the other way, you're getting.
So then you
great.
have business owners parking in front of not their business and blocking that business all day long and pissing people off. I mean, really, truly,
I know, I'm just trying to be conscientious and not.
but I know that happens. Like, they go park down in front of other people's businesses because they want to leave theirs open. Like, I've seen that happen too.
That would happen if you have a park on Dayton, they're gonna be parked in front of somebody else's.
Right.
Today I parked in front of my own shop because I didn't want to park in front of that little house on Dayton, because I know he comes home for lunch. I'm just trying to be polite,
Mhm.
and
So what about the lot across from the post office? Could we work some kind of a deal out with that guy and not put too much money in it, but just with Russ? Yeah. Is Russ on that now?
He's got plans for that.
There's a lot right here that Elks Lodge owns.
Folks won't let us.
I mean, they're talking about this one over here.
They're talking everything. Charlie does not want the liability.
What would the liability be like that for if we,
Well, just said we're gonna do it for Baptist, and we talked to the Elks about doing it for them.
Yeah.
yeah,
But we just put up parking meters like we used to have, that was definitely
Absolutely.
shorten the time people spend on the street.
Well, you have that authority. I mean, it's your call.
I just feel like this is never gonna have a solution because no matter what, we're gonna piss
Our
somebody off.
downtown is not designed well. It's not our fault. It was, we're back in the early 1900s.
Right.
You know, it goes that far back. There is no
Solution.
viable solution. There just isn't. Unless you start buying buildings, tear them down and turn them into parks. That's the only option that's gonna work. So what we're doing right now is we are taking available land. We have purchased it. We are turning those into parking lots.
Okay.
Not gonna make everybody happy. Not everybody wants to walk 3 blocks to go to a store. Some people don't mind it, other people do. You're not gonna satisfy everybody. You're not gonna fix the problem. Main Street's too narrow. Buildings are too close in behind. Lenz only has the parking lot they have because they bought that other property, tore the house down, and made the whole thing a parking lot.
Hmm.
I mean, those are your solutions.
Right.
Other than that, there are no solutions. It's, you do a little bit here and a little bit there to maybe help it, but you're not gonna fix it. And you're not gonna sit here for 3 hours talking about it and fix it any quicker than you are half an hour talking about it, to fix it. That's just the facts.
But I like the idea of trying it. I mean, there's no harm in putting the sign up for no oversized parking and arrow them in the right direction and try it. I mean, there's no harm in trying.
I think that part is fine. I'm leery about putting the time restrictions on it because
I think we're not gonna be able, because here's
you're gonna make everybody in town mad, business owners and.
yeah.
Well, they say it's somebody enforcing it.
and I think we also check into the liability too, see how big of a burden that is for us.
That's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, sure, like hundreds of millions of dollars of assets. The parking lot's not going to make a dent. It's going to move our insurance policy.
Well, maybe that would make a difference with Sean and
Dollar.
Charlie. If we could provide a little bit of gravel,
Yeah.
a little-
I wouldn't hold out on the other one.
We-
John Robertson's a
He won't.
city hater.
Yeah, he will not work with us no matter what we do.
So,
okay.
we have a step toward a plan.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we're
the
gonna-
oversized
we're gonna-
parking and try it and see.
We'll document this as an action along with the spot repairs of sidewalks that are in bad condition. And we'll show that that's going to happen underneath the street fund line item and this wayfinding and signage line item.
Let me ask you this then. I've got a business on North Canyon Boulevard that huge trucks park in front of. We can have no oversized parking on North Canyon Boulevard,
How far down?
past the motel, because that's the biggest problem.
I mean, you can regulate it wherever you want. I don't. You could have no oversized parking within 6 blocks of downtown outside of here.
Doesn't he try to park as close to the motel he can because he stays there? Doesn't have to go back right? But sometimes it's a little bit farther north. And that's what's the problem. No, further south, right in front of my property.
We'll see, and like,
So-
I know on Bridge Street by the hotel parking, they just have no truck parking between the hours of blah, blah, blah.
We could sign all the way up to Second Avenue and direct people down to the Kemwachung. It's a 4-block walk is not a big deal.
Well, unless you're staying at a motel. You have to take off.
You're going to walk for any city. You're going to walk a couple of blocks unless you're going to pay $40 a night.
Yeah, I've had those over how far he had to walk into Pacific City. Sorry, straight trip.
Well, I know that Elks Lodge wants to sell that piece of property right back there.
Independent of the rest of the building.
We just bought this piece of property from them.
Well, if
Less
that's,
parking.
I mean, if that's the case, let's buy that little turd of a parking lot and wait.
Because they don't use it. I mean, literally, they do not use that.
I mean, that's
Let's check that out.
Yeah, okay.
0.38 acres that we could use for business owner parking,
Yeah, I think that would be perfect for business owners.
and they've got to
Would you
walk.
that far?
They've got to walk 3 blocks.
I mean, would you? No, I mean, I'm just saying, would you? Would you is what I say.
Yeah.
All I'm asking for is a viable option. Don't push us into a corner, so.
So who knows Charlie enough to ask on that
We
one?
go to their board. That's what we do.
Afford.
Okay, Mr. Quorum.
You set it up for them, I'll go with you.
Cool.
All right.
I am.
Charlie's in right now.
Anything else on the project budgets? All the ones with specific line items are named in the budget, and so those are already approved. The only other one I highlighted for discussion, somehow in a $24.6 million capital outlay budget, I left out $60,000 that we've been awarded. It's because it was the forgivable portion of the loan we used to buy the Iron Triangle property. But it's not in the budget. So I'm going to talk to Anna, and we're going to add that 60,000 or 88,345, whatever we're not spending this fiscal year.
And that goes at the bottom in the yellow.
Yeah, so we're going to add 651750260. We're probably going to add about 60 grand to that as a prior to adoption on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
It's already been funded. I just forgot to have it specifically called out in the budget. So right now it's in unappropriated. These are the good problems. You're finding money you forgot you had. That okay, we got to add that too.
Yeah, we're not.
I got a question though. You mentioned about a new grocery store, or you called it a supermarket. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of it.
I think I called it a grocery
A
store.
grocery store. My end of that block on Hillcrest is livid.
About a grocery store
Yeah.
going in on the highway.
Livid, because They have no clue what's going on, and I can't tell them.
Because it's not a city deal.
Well, but there's ingress and egress somewhere. Is it coming off the highway?
Off the highway.
Off the head, that's why we're taking out Phil.
Okay, now, if they don't do it, are we going to have a contract that says you will repay us for the cost
If what doesn't, who doesn't do what?
if they don't put a grocery store in? And we remove the fill like we said we would for nothing.
Yeah, so the deal based on your motion was they had to have an approved site by the planning commission and a purchase and sale agreement with the property owner. They've got the purchase and sale agreement with the property owner. They're not going to hit the June 30th planning commission, so they'll probably go in late July, early August.
So ingress and egress is coming off Highway 26.
All of it's Highway 26, and we'll have retaining walls and landscaping around the back and the sides as a buffer for the residents on Hillcrest. And that was my stipulation because I didn't want to deal with a bunch of angry people.
So where's it at, the parking across from
It's the storage units.
where I store my credit?
And that's the other thing I didn't know. So they effected this purchase and sale. I know nothing about how much notice they have to give to current customers to relocate.
They
Or
already did.
they
They
did.
called me.
Okay.
They called all the customers.
What did they tell you?
They didn't say anything. They just said, you want to renew or not
Interesting.
your lease?
So there is somebody that is looking at purchasing all those storage units and moving them to their property.
There's a coming soon storage place opening up on Canyon. Is that
Well,
related?
there's going to be 3 up at the airport industrial park in short order. But
You didn't know what was going to be built? No, I didn't.
so this started a year ago, and they came with a site design review application that the planning commission would have had to approve. It met every criteria of the code, but it had ingress and egress off of Hillcrest. And the problem is that lot is zoned general commercial. There is no legal way we could have prevented them from ingressing and egressing off of Hillcrest. We couldn't have stopped it. So I told them, you're just going to make everyone angry. Don't, for practical reasons, don't do it. Do it off the highway. And then they came back and said, we've got 7,200 cubic yards of material we would have to remove to ingress and egress off the highway. That's where I said, great. It turns out I got to build a road that's going to need about 7,200 cubic yards of fill. Well, if the council's willing to, we got to buy that from somebody. We'll take it. It's the closest site to where we're building the road. And the problem solved. So they agreed to that. But they still have to go through the planning commission, have approved site, and then.
And do we have all the equipment that's going to cost us nothing to take it away? Or do we have to contract
What-
out the equipment?
We would contract out the equipment anyway. That's what I'm saying. Like, we would be paying for the still dump trucks, transport from a farther away location. On net, I don't think it changes what we would be paying for the material. It's just going to create jobs and 100x increase in property tax receipts. I'm looking at it from a business standpoint. I have not seen the grocery store. I've seen the footprint of it, but they haven't submitted the complete application. There's nothing to request through public records. I don't have it.
But it said 1,400 square feet. That's not a very big.
14,000.
Or 14,000.
Yeah,
Oh,
14,000.
that's bigger. That's half again bigger than my footprint.
It did say 1,400.
Yeah, it's the size of my apartment. That's bigger than my apartment.
Chester's before the addition of the variety piece is 25,000 square feet. So you're not quite that large, but it's
Okay, a little bigger than
That's
Bill
a
Green's
Chester.
market.
You're dating yourself.
I mean, I felt like that was a better solution than having them come in and say, well, we don't really care if the people on Hillcrest are happy or sad because people are going to shop us anyway. And I just didn't want to have to go there. I didn't want to fight.
We couldn't have stopped all the traffic up and down Hillcrest if they wanted to.
The problem is the only way you could stop it is by saying the road doesn't meet the design criteria, but that thing is a highway.
Well,
It's the widest street.
Yeah.
well, I know that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't, there was nothing in the code. There's nothing in the code that would allow me to say, oh, well, that street doesn't meet your ingress and egress requirements. This is the biggest street we have. So it was like, this will be passed, and I would tell the planning commission, you have to approve it. If you don't, then they're going to appeal, and we're going to pay for the appeal, and then we're going to lose. We're going to lose anyway. So I felt like this was a better option, and since we needed fill material,
Isn't that relatively high? Oh my gosh.
yes, it's a lot of yards.
Really, a lot of fill material.
So what they'll do is they'll probably set it up about 4 or 5 feet. So you have a slight, you're not going to enter at,
It'd be like Dollar
you'll have a
General.
slight, not quite that high. But what I'm thinking is they'll probably slope it up to the site, and then we'll have a retaining wall around the back.
I guess my concern is, because the property, of course, comes out to Hillcrest Road, it's put out the right way. How close to Hillcrest are they actually gonna be
Pretty good offset. It's about 50 feet.
excavating, and I'm just worried about, potential for losing the road.
No, they're way off the road. It's a good 50 feet.
Next to Hillcrest Road. It's pretty flat. My worry about is that used to be a shop for the state highway in a brownfield. I'm worried about. But that's their problem, so.
Well, actually, we are opportunity. I mean, if we get in there and find some brownfield stuff, then the state's going to pick up 90% of the cost.
Well, just let you know, that used to be state police
We would-
office and
We would make money on the excavation. I might want to do that anyway.
I just let you know.
I didn't know that was a.
Yeah, that was the old state highway department, because that was the state highway.
Well, there's just an
Hillcrest.
absolute ton of brownfield dollars, so we could get money to do. I mean, we'd have to do the phase 1, but we could get them to pick up 90% of the cost of excavation. And at that point, we're just making money. Any objections? Just making money.
Sure it was.
That's great.
Sure, there will be
All right.
somebody that objects.
I mean, I'll try that. It doesn't hurt anything.
But guess who is renting the building?
That's that part.
John Roberts.
I mean, we're not, people need to know we're not involved in this other than we're going to take some fill material and use it for a city project. But I'm not,
We're not.
we didn't recruit, we
Because
did not recruit a grocery store. We had nothing to do with that. It was all private party transaction.
that's also going around.
I just tried to pump the brakes on their
Right.
proposal because it was going to make a lot of people upset. And I couldn't have stopped it. So I felt like that was the better part of Valor, was to get them to adjust.
Well, Coram, how would you handle the transparency on this? Because people are asking,
They're asking.
and 1400 was a misprint, I guess.
It was absolutely.
Yeah, that.
I was shocked.
Yeah, that's handling that is a lot of eating crow for one, and adding a 0. I think messaging that we couldn't stop it. I mean, these
Yeah,
things
but
are,
I mean, when you get the message out that it's coming,
it's coming. It's the free market. If somebody wants to put in a grocery store and it meets all of our code and all of our design requirements.
Highway 26.
It's awesome because we pulled teeth and we pushed their arms. And,
I think we could do a letter, especially to the neighbors.
Yeah.
yeah, we should do a letter within 100 feet.
We should just do it when they submit their applications, so that we're required to notify them within 100 feet, but we can notify everybody that lives on Hillcrest, show them the design and say, this is going to be accessed off the highway, it'll create jobs, there's a lot of benefit, and it's permitted outright. You couldn't stop it if you wanted to, so this is the better.
Dude, I know some kids that are really excited to have a candy store right next to their house.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
and you've got, people in Meadowbrook can walk to a grocery store. I mean, that's positive, right?
Well,
I mean,
having something for them on that side of town.
and over at Scott's Apartments, I mean, there's
Over at my
benefit.
apartment, like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
there's
a great-
benefit to having local convenience stuff.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of
And
kids
it's-
on the street.
We need
Yeah, I
infill
think-
development that raises property tax values, because we can't fund basic functions of government without
I
it.
think Chris has a good point though, is at some point, if this like major traffic generator is going in well past the end of our sidewalks down 26, at some point we're gonna need to look at street improvements and crossings and other kinds of things if kids are gonna go across the highway to get candy.
So what we did on the last one is we had them give us they paid us for the sidewalks.
I mean, You can give your kids $1 and he'll see what they spend it on.
But did everybody hear that? When Dollar General did this, because we had no sidewalks for them to connect to, they paid us the value of the sidewalk improvements, and we just put it in our own street fund, so that we could, when there is a sidewalk to connect it to. And ODOT preferred that as a solution because they don't want people going down a sidewalk and then off the edge of a cliff. So there may be an opportunity, not this SCA round, but the following, to make some improvements to that little alley that runs through there. Gunther.
And they bought
No,
a piece of property too there,
It's just an old tar mat. I mean, we could
officer's whole place.
dig that up and repave it so that it's not quite such a skinny little.
Gunther isn't even, it used to be no road. If you remember, we were in city council.
Bob
Larkin donated it, but it didn't meet city code at the time.
So what house, he bought the vacant lot too then, and
Yeah.
the house that was for sale?
No.
No.
That vacant lot there, that they tore that house down.
And there's no access onto Gunther. It's all Highway 26. I'm losing the bubble on our agenda. Are we good on this stuff? Any other changes before the 14th?
Clarifying question, if businesses, we say, hey, we can fund 75% of this program, the work section awarded you this much, we can give you 75% of that. If you can't complete your project, and we have leftover funds in that line item, what do you want me to do with it? Do another round of downtown businesses, open it up to everybody? Like,
Why can't we reach out to those businesses that didn't qualify if we have funds left over because of their location?
yeah, just
I mean, that's
yeah,
what,
that's what I'm saying. Is
if we have money left over, I would say we open it up to the
Yeah, but
one.
the question is if there's somebody there that wouldn't be able to.
Absolutely. So we had 5 applications that didn't qualify.
And then 5 more people that called me saying, "Oh,
Right.
you gave us 5 days to fill out this thing. I didn't hear about it."
I would say we go with the first ones that applied in the timely manner, and then if we have extra.
Good. Yeah.
That was intentional. No, it wasn't.
Well, some of it was intentional in that it didn't qualify in the first round.
Right. It didn't
Not
qualify.
We didn't want to like.
So we'll have more funding next year. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll do some this fiscal year, do some next fiscal year, and see where we land.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to deduct something from somewhere else and put more into Main Street. I mean, we're trying to spread it out so that we see some impact.
Yeah. So what this gets us right now is a usable Kenmore Chung parking lot. Gets us a somewhat appealing Oregon Pine. It activates seed capital in order to start working on the planer shed. It gives us probably 3 of the activations from Strata Gold. What was the other thing? Wayfinding and signage, and it finishes the pit stop, which
It's a big.
is a big one. Like we can go from pit stop having just being functional, but like having our shade cover, being able to like have utility hookups, put a stage, have a band, hang out.
Look better than it does now. No more signs on it.
No.
I heard about that. Oh, my God.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I think if there's money left over,
Mhm.
then definitely need to
We
use
do
it.
it.
Well, and if
Do a
we-
second round.
I mean, we are still applying for grant dollars, so if we get some for some of these projects and don't need to use our money, then we can put more in during the year.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a good chance that'll happen on at least 1 or 2 of these. Okay, anything else on the big dollar one? Because I want to pivot to professional services.
No.
Okay, on the professional services, which will be the following, we'll do this 5-year summary of all the money we spent with local contractors from FY17 through FY22. It's a big number. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 professional services agreements. They're going to average $150,000 each. And all of it's tied into the capital outlay, so we don't need different budget actions, but what we'd like to do is a combination of on-call and task-based contracts for tasks we know we need to fund, for each of these companies and do this one time for the 12-month period of performance that starts July 1st and ends June 30th of next year. So it's really not different in the total allocation than what we would normally do, but the way we've been operating, we're bringing professional services agreements to almost every city council meeting. We're trying to forecast, now that we've got our budget set, how much we'll need for all of these companies, do an on-call, sort of a blanket purchase order agreement with each one of them based on their current hourly rates, and then have council approve all of them for the coming fiscal year, and then let staff work within the approved budget as we need their services, and if we don't need them, we don't spend the money. It's a very efficient approach, and it's only 7.5% of our total capital outlay, which is about right. I mean, you're going to end up 7 to 10% on design and professional services. It's just going to be a big number because we've got a $24 million capital outlay budget.
So these are just consultants that would work with some of our grant projects that we've got going on, if we need them.
As we need them.
As
we use all of them right now.
Yeah, we're small shops, so we really lean on contractors.
We're sort of using the contractors in lieu of paying staff, because that way when the projects are done, we don't have PERS.
Yeah.
We don't have government employees that we're trying to figure out what to do with.
Well, I'm trying to find that many professionals
Right.
that come and work for the city is not good.
And just to remember what was on the list, half of them have already worked for it. I mean, we've already,
Almost all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Some of
big
them,
ways,
yeah, some of them are
already
just,
proven themselves and been an
um,
asset to the city.
these are the ones that have, for the most part, have already applied through our biannual RFQ or through some other mechanism. And it covers, we're going to put a summary of the scope of work in the agenda itself, and then we'll have all of the contracts posted by the end of next week. It's going to be standard language in every agreement. The names will change, and then in Exhibit A, which is the scope of services, that will be unique to what we're proposing we have them do. But I think this would make it a lot more efficient for us. We can just manage it within our current budget allocation and use them as we need.
I think it's a great idea to publish how much you use local contractors. We did that for the hospital every year, and people were shocked how much money the hospital
Yes.
used.
I mean, I'm spending $1 million a month. We're putting up big numbers in local contractors, and it's good. I mean, these are all people that live in Grant County and work in Grant County. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, this is what it takes to recover economically.
Yeah, we should see new economic. I think the latest economic data we have is from 2019, but we should start seeing the impact of our spending here out of jobs data, which would be really cool.
So that's it. That's what's on the agenda for the 14th. So we'll
We're
finalize.
gonna get your contract tomorrow to review.
Yeah, and I'm on the list too. So you'll have.
Right.
Yep.
So he's sending that to them too, or do I?
You'll have the interim contract. You'll have my termination. You'll have professional services
I'm
agreements.
real busy.
I know this is a lot to throw at you for one night. So I want to get it all up by the end of next week.
Well, who's going to be responsible for getting them your contract
It's
that I
going to
know
be
about?
posted on
It's going to be posted. Okay, so I don't have to do that.
I'm on the list along with Sissel and MCD and Walker Macy and Interfluid and 5 other companies. And the scope of services will be there.
You feel like you need any more consultants?
Would you like a couple extras?
I could put a couple people to work.
Anybody apply
Like
for the city slot? Secretary?
Oh, yeah, one person so far.
You need teachers that want to come to work too, so send them our way.
We'll but Savannah's covering right now. We're okay.
So we will have minutes?
We're gonna have all of the minutes.
Oh.
So many minutes. So many.
So here's the deal, though, just so we are clear. The reason it's taking so long is because all my staff keep having babies, which is wonderful. But also, We're having like 5-hour meeting.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the 14th meeting, you're going to have all of the minutes through our last meeting, including this work session.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're detailed.
Well, they don't have to be so detailed.
Well,
But we like it that way.
I know.
You can go back and read exactly
Well,
what
they
was
could go
said.
into the web.
We've tried to make it less detailed. It's hard. You almost spend as much time making it less detailed.
I'm
as
still
there.
confused as why we can't have 2 recordings. And that is actually verbatim. I mean, it actually gets the cops
We-
and everything,
We
you know?
can, but like we can just upload the video and say those are the minutes, and the written minutes could say, look at the video and it's archived here.
Wouldn't that be less staff time? Wouldn't that,
It would
isn't
be
that part of
way,
it?
way less.
Way less
time.
staff time.
So what's the
How much
downside?
Tia did that?
I don't get that. I mean, that, you think that would be more accurate and everything. And the argument I hear is that, well, what if it gets lost or destroyed? Well,
It does have.
Well,
you can't
that was the
easy.
concern, but now with like Vimeo, I mean, stuff lives. Vimeo's
It's
video
like
warehouse.
YouTube. Yeah.
I
it
think
lives on the internet
too,
forever.
But
But-
the audio would be hard to go back and find, like, this agenda item. You'd have to go through.
Well, so the minutes would say agenda item 1 starts here and ends here,
Oh.
and then you would have to go through that 45-minute discussion to
Yeah.
find what you're looking for.
Or you can just read it in a.
And you can't control F.
But if you
paper.
guys want to do that, my staff will
Yeah,
like
same
have
with-
a.
what about, isn't there a program that you read the minutes into this thing and it types them out for you, so you're not actually, I mean, isn't there ways that we can?
Yeah.
But that's going to give you.
It doesn't do very good.
It's going to give you like a.
That's like a predict text.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they'll do it. But the number of words we use in a 3-hour meeting, it's going to be like 50 pages
Yeah.
per meeting.
And it's gonna hear weird things that we see, like unique things that are to the Grand County, or yeah, or not. It's not gonna
Well, I
understand.
mean, that was one of the issues with Peggy. She had, you know, she took 2 days to do the minutes. And Nick, that was one of your bugaboos. And I'm sure that's going to be one of yours.
I've yet to meet a human being who likes doing that.
I used to do economic development conference minutes. They were super detailed. It would take me 12 hours, but by God.
It's just not a great use of staff time.
No.
We've got other things to do.
We could contract for a stenographer or something and just ship it out.
When they had the candidates do their debate, they did that. And some of the words were totally, what in the world are they talking about? It was horrible.
It was.
But we could do a topic summary, start time, end time, and just reference the location for the video, and then put the video on Vimeo, and it'll live there forever. We can do that.
We
And then
try that and see how we like it.
Yeah.
So
Do something.
what about people that don't have access to that? Do we ever get people that request the minutes?
yeah, there's one person that requests all of them and asks that they be burned to compact discs.
Are you kidding?
No, I had to go buy a CD burner,
I didn't even know they still faces.
but that's we do that. No, we do it. So they pay $25 per compact disc for us to burn the video, which is also just available on the web. But they wouldn't accept a link to the video that they could watch on the browser. They wanted a physical.
We couldn't get a permanent link, or they just gonna.
We have permanent links, but they didn't want that. Yeah. I mean, we're a public body. We're recording it right
Recording.
now. So yeah, it's available.
But I mean, do we have to provide it on an old kind of technology?
I mean, I guess we could put it on a thumb drive and
Yeah,
say we
buy
don't
thumb
do
drives, really
compact
cheap.
discs anymore, but
For $25, you could buy a bunch of really small, like thumb
we're
drives.
making money on the compact
Floppy
disc.
We're making a lot of money on it. So we could burn it on the flop. We'll provide it to you on floppy.
All right,
It'll
so
be 80 of them.
So what I'm hearing is you're okay if we just have a basic summary, start time, end time, each topic.
Well, I feel like my mind's gonna remember minutes if they're like next meeting versus 3 months down the road. I'm not gonna remember.
Well, these meetings are like traumatizing me, so I'll remember them forever, but I get what you're saying.
I'm good with the video.
I have a quick question when you guys have a second.
Go ahead, Elliot.
How good is the audio quality on the recordings? You know, when I'm listening in through the phone, for instance, there's like certain people it's really challenging to hear who are a little bit further away from the microphones, other people who are crystal clear. Is there a way to get that consistent so we can, you know, hear everything that everyone's saying.
You could buy a better mic.
We could mic everyone.
You could probably do that with all of the
Get portable
labor
mics
you're not
for
paying
each,
for people doing
each
it.
person.
I mean,
No,
we can get an owl
actually,
set up in the
So
middle.
Elliot, our recordings are fine. The Blue Mountain Eagles recordings are terrible. But if you were to watch one of our go-to meetings on video afterward, you could hear all of the people at the table just fine. Where you get some people a little bit muffled is when they're like shouting out words from the peanut gallery. But they're not supposed to do that anyway.
Okay.
So the council and staff, you can hear them great on our recording. It's the Eagle live stream of the thing that their audio is terrible.
What if for our audience,
Well-
we bought a microphone that stood in one spot, and audience members?
Or they could articulate or just walk up to the
Right.
table, which is what they're
I think,
supposed to do.
I mean, we.
Well, we could set a
I
microphone
mean,
at
we're
the table.
super
and say,
informal, but if you go to any council, like
Oh, absolutely.
anywhere, you're coming up to the podium and the council's on a dais and it's
Yeah.
very formal. We don't do that. That's fine, but
Buy robes for everybody.
it's not, I don't think it's inappropriate to say, come and sit in front of the council when you address the council so that we can hear you on the mic.
How does that work then for approving minutes? So we are essentially approving the summary.
We would listen to the audio if we had some questions.
Well, all you get approved is a summary, and yeah, that's the conversation that happened and about when it did. And then we'd have the link in the minutes to the Vimeo, the city's Vimeo site.
Summary.
Now, is that easier than typing
Oh,
minutes?
yeah, you just have like 8 hours per minute packet.
Only 8 hours. Those things.
Yeah, we just freed up a couple of days a week.
Yeah, that's a lot of staff time. It is.
At least see
insane.
the pitfalls on it and see if it even works.
No,
or
what-
doesn't.
What we could do is do the motions in the minutes, in the written minutes. So who made a motion and who seconded and what and how it was voted.
That makes sense.
That would, for anything that there's a decision on,
that'd be nice.
we could summarize it that way too.
Okay.
And so, does Vimeo have the spot where you could even chunk it out and have the video display where the chapter headings for agenda item 1, 2, 3? I know that's a YouTube thing, but maybe.
I don't know if they do or not, but
Oh, like you could do agenda item 1.
Yeah. So like,
they could also just go. I mean,
They could
go
also
down the
skip ahead.
the minutes and
Yeah.
just skip ahead.
I like, if
you can make it
put the
more
minutes
readable.
in there, then they can jump to 11 minutes and
Yep.
find it. I mean, I'm okay with that part of it. I just thought like sitting through a 4-hour meeting
Well,
to find the
And then we could put draft minutes up a lot faster. Like pre-approved minutes could go up the next day with the video link.
Oh.
And that way,
You just have like the motion.
like you could go and try to watch the Blue Mountain Eagles and not hear what's being said, or you could watch the one we record that has all the like crystal clear audio and you just follow along with the minutes. We just put them up under the next agenda item as pre-approved or a pre-approval or something.
Yeah. Go down on staff.
I just
time.
feel like I don't remember what we did 17 hours ago in that meeting.
Yeah, but speaking from experience, and you, Dave, you can back me up. I mean, most of the time, other than just here recently, this last 6 months, we've been able to, you could remember what was said. It was a
Right.
big.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, this has been recent with our minutes because of staffing. Like, I'm not blaming anybody, but it's just hard to remember what we said 3 months ago.
Because Paul was always good at bringing up the one thing that we remember was either a grammatical error or something.
Dave's now the new call.
Well, let's
I use the proof the minutes, the factory all the time.
Okay, that's why he's so good at it.
that'll actually save lots and lots and lots.
That's a lot of-
Umpteen hours of staff time. It is a.
Okay, so last item, we're going to put up a draft of it, but we were thinking for the community celebration on the 10th, we'll post the agenda for everybody, but it starts at Kam Wah Chung, and we have the dedicatory event there, and it goes down to Hill Park. The ribbon cutting. Hill Sisters will be there. Say a few words.
So sorry. of that family.
May or may not walk across the way to the groundbreaking of the pool. We'll know a week from today, maybe.
Well,
Like the 7th. Anyway, so that may or may not happen. But regardless, the last stop would be down the trail to the treatment plant, where I was going to say a few words about, how much fun that's been. But more importantly, like the value of the community and why council pursued this. And then we've got, they're called Hodags, but they look like miners' picks that have been embossed and engraved with the date. Our logo, the Centennial logo for OPRD, for council, staff, and the funding agencies.
Oh, cool.
To have a memento, because you guys put in a lot of time. So those, what,
And what time is that all, 9:30?
9 to 12 on the
9 to
10th,
12.
9 to 12,
June 10th,
June 10th,
Next Saturday.
next Friday.
next Friday.
Next Friday.
But what we were going to put up as a draft for you to take a look at, and Elliot, I was hoping you could help us wordsmith this. Have the mayor do a proclamation on that date that council could then ratify at the meeting on the 14th, but we would call it Community Renewal Day. We talk about how this is us sort of turning a leaf and having seeing the fruits of our labor and this vision of community renewal and revitalization finally coming together with all of these projects that have been in the planning stages for 20 years are now, so Quorum's drafted it, and we were thinking maybe we could just make it iterative and you could provide suggestions on the language, have him read
Yeah,
it.
that sounds great. Just email me what you guys have, and I'm happy to work on it.
Okay. And then we'd have him do that at one of the stops.
One of the stops. We talked about,
Either at the Hill Park or maybe at the treatment plant and do
Yeah.
it at the end.
I think it would be a good rah-rah movement at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it's a big deal. We're groundbreaking or ribbon cutting on like $18 million of capital outlays.
Anybody gonna be here?
Finley and Owens, we'll probably get Merkley and Wyden's staffers, and then we'll have Courtney Warner Kroll from the governor's office, Business Oregon regional rep, and OPRD staff.
Oh, wow.
and then
Plus the Hill family.
Hill family, OTEC, Kamwachong, Prince Kamwachong.
Yeah, we're going to recognize OTEC because they've worked pretty closely with us on these some of these projects, and they gave up 10 feet of lot line to get the right of way done.
Speaking of OPEC, I got a call from Tucker.
Mhm.
He would like to get on our agenda sometime in the future to talk about how they're dealing with taking care of forest fires and
Oh, cool.
possibility. So
Mhm.
just keep that in mind. He contacted me and I said I'd let you know.
Yeah.
And just so you guys are aware, in case it comes up, it hasn't, but we did the lot line adjustment with OTEC, and we're doing the paving of the parking lot for their parking, which we've seen the designs for. But that was so that we wouldn't be cutting into the home that's on the corner, because the chicken coop's it's kind of in the right of way.
Can't move.
So I talked to the owner and I said, we don't want to mess with your chickens. I know chickens are a thing. So we're going to create a retaining wall to the edge of our right of way that will come up and bring their yard level, where right now it fades into the road. So they'll have a nice, clean, rounded edge, and it'll be in our right of way. It won't be on their property, so it'll be ours to maintain. We'll own it. The future property owners can't do anything to it, but it'll give them about a foot of extra space along that edge of the chicken coop. I think there's an owner, Carrie.
Yeah.
So anyway, the guy was fine. I mean, we talked, shook hands over it, said we don't need a construction easement because we're in our property, but it's going to change his approach. So he was fine with it. I told him we'd bring in topsoil to level it off and he can plant grass or whatever.
Where's that at exactly?
The little red house,
The little red house on the
Right.
corner of Patterson.
Mhm.
park, office.
But we worked with OTEC to do the lot line adjustment to shift that puppy over 10 feet, because otherwise it had gone right through the edge of his property, and we didn't want to do that. And OTEC wasn't using that space,
Mhm.
so now they're going to get an improved parking lot, and it'll look really nice. The fence is, I think,
It looks nice.
Yeah.
about finished.
Mhm.
You honestly can't tell. You wouldn't know, other than the fence is new, that wasn't the location. And then we moved our water lines and the hydrants and stuff. That's all getting moved out of the way too.
The hope for that to be like an access point too for that side of the trail.
And they're going to put in EV charging and a
Yeah.
little decorative feature and stuff. So it'll actually make the
Pictures.
entrance look pretty nice.
Maybe a bike station.
But that's how we got to the property line adjustment. Their board approved it. We had already approved the site design. We just didn't want to disrupt. Everywhere we've gone, we've tried to make adjacent properties better, and I think we've done that. I mean, new fencing along Davis Creek and at 7th Street, and
Bruce Terry really appreciates what you guys did.
I think it looks good.
Bob Armstrong really did, or not Bob, but
Brad,
Brad.
he did a good job.
Did an outstanding job.
So I need to bring up the fact, Watterson's Levi, he was afraid to say anything, so his dad come to me.
Mhm.
They want to make sure that culvert, the two get tied together right or whatever.
Yeah,
And that gets leveled off and maybe a fence or something we talked about. Or
we'll have a new fence along his piece, and then right now Ray's just cutting down weeds, but we'll
golden baby steps, but it'll happen. So
yeah, it does happen. It takes us a while. Anyway,
I heard good comments on the trail paving. So
Yeah, which will be fun. So I was out there with the Shuttle Go guys. And saw a bunch of guys jogging around.
Okay.
that's all I had.
I got a question. Down where the new treatment plant's going,
Mhm.
talked about that 2 acre solar array.
Mhm.
Is that still on the books and is that funded already?
Yes. So we have a community solar grant that's due in about 3 weeks. Oh, they extended it, right? To July?
I mean, it's July 8th, so
4 weeks?
4 weeks.
We haven't actually got grant money for it yet.
No, we do, but I just would rather get more.
Okay.
perfect.
The grant dollars we got were federal, and the House bill is state. So we can pair those two together.
But are you going to include that in this tour, I guess? Because
Yes.
to me, that's an important aspect.
And that would be a joint development with OTEC, where we have in phase 1 we have the solar array, and they take our excess power. The phase 2 that we have a call on tomorrow, or however many it takes.
Yeah.
Okay, so conceptually, this is just a concept, but it's been done one other place. We take our reclaimed water in the wintertime that's just going in the ground. Nobody wants it, nobody's using it. We pump it uphill to a spot. We'll just leave it at that for now. And we store it. We use a solar array to pump it up, and then we run it back down again in the summer when there's demand for the water through inline hydro. And then that inline hydro generates power that goes back on the grid through a microarray, creates more power, and creates it addresses that supply and demand issue with the timing of the water. And then over time, as that reclaimed water builds up and we're creating excess, we would have a nice body of water for the public lake, and it's Class A. It's just fine. So that's phases 2 and beyond, which would require additional state investment, but could also create some pretty significant revenue streams from the reclaimed water sales and excess power generation.
Isn't that what the Oregon Garden does too?
Yeah, and there's one, I don't know about that one, but there is one that has that inline hydro in play, and it actually works really well.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be close to a substation, and it turns out we're right around the corner from a substation. So
And as soon as we do all that work, it'll be just in time for Oregon to change their laws around using Class A water just for normal drinking water, and then we could have just pumped it into our normal.
I'm a big proponent of this, and I'm mentally still having a hard time with thinking about drinking it.
You're already drinking it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we'll see more flexibility in the uses of that reclaimed water. But we thought we would apply for funds to construct phase 1, which would be the array, and also apply for planning dollars to plan those other phases, do the economic modeling, identify a site that works, which we've actually already done, but we'll pretend that we don't have that done, and then we'll kind of put it together as a package.
Will the Library Foundation also be at the Still Park?
No, they said they weren't ready for.
But they're gonna do a walking reading thing. What do they call those?
Oh, story.
Story
story-
sidewalk.
Yeah.
So along the trail, we'll have a story walk. That's supposed to go up next week.
Do they want to walk us through the story walk over there? I haven't talked to anybody.
I think they're just going to have it available.
we can walk ourselves.
We can walk ourselves. We can.
With the 3-year-old.
I would love to read it to the group.
Quorum's going to narrate the story as we all walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like some pictures.
Okay, that's all we had. Anything from council?
Maybe there. If we can't be there on the 10th, sorry.
I will be. Yeah.
All right,
We have
we'll
baseball.
save a hodag for you.
Our pickaxe.
Yeah, your little pickaxe. Actually, pretty nice.
That'll be down at the,
I've got.
And everybody saw today about Prairie Wood opening back up.
I'll see it. I'll leave it when I see it.
I've been working on it. Okay.
They have
Yeah,
been
I
working on
see. Well, good luck with the
50.
50 now?
They want 50 people.
Jeez.
We got bills in home. So they have nowhere to lay.
That's right.
I know.
So
Winter 3D printers will be here.
this summer.
Yeah, it keeps being pushed back a month at a time. But this summer, TM.
well, because of the weather, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, they.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it's. I'm on a housing committee for the state, and we just had this conversation yesterday. Every time we turn around, there's another regulatory hurdle that we're hung up on, and every agency says it's not me, but it's the composite of all of them. So the problem is you. I mean, so right now there's the DSL cut and fill permit to get across the wetland that you wouldn't know was there other than you did a wetland delineation. Got to get that permit so they can put in the culverts. So, I mean, it's just, and everyone says, that's not egregious. No, it's just Oregon. We regulate everything. So when you're working with 10 agencies on one project, it takes forever. And then they turn around, oh, we forgot to have you do this study $200,000 later. So some of the delay is that. And then some of the delay is that it's not even the agency's issue, it's that it's so complex, the applicant is submitting the wrong form. So 3 weeks goes by, nothing's happening, and then they find out, oh, I should have filled out a different form than the form I filled out, so I get to start over and fill out a different form.
Sounds like a Rogan Alcohol Counseling Center.
It sounds like an episode of Parks and Rec, that sitcom. But anyway, we're working through it, so it's going to be this summer, and it's still a go.
Need to drill a few test holes.
Might as well. They're going to ask you to.
But we're
while you're up there.
the concept we're floating at that working group is, could we just have a 2-year hiatus on all of this stuff? Like, just look the other way for 2 years. We're getting a whole bunch of stuff done with this federal money that's coming, and then we can go back to regulating everything.
Could you, I got a couple questions from people downtown, the Sheedy building, what's going on?
He still has 2.5 years on his agreement with the city to finish it.
And his
We
ask
gave-
for facade dollars too.
We gave him 5 years in our agreement. He's halfway in.
He did put in an application.
And we'll give 75% of whatever we awarded him.
And he's paid off almost all of his loan. I think he's got $40,000 left to pay off. So he's doing everything we asked him to do. I realize it's not the timeline that some people wanted, but it's the timeline we approved. So I don't.
It's got another focus now, so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so.
But he knows he's
He knows,
on the clock.
yeah.
He's gonna have it done.
Anything else, you guys?
No, I said a Chromebook.
Yes.
Yes.
No, Katrina.
Chromebook and a plaque. Come by City Hall sometime and we'll, not a plaque, a little.
And name placard. Yeah.
You get a plaque. You're sick.
You get a brick in the wall.
You get Greg's computer, which was barely used.
Yeah, it's brand new. Like,
Yeah, my old computer. That almost got us through an entire meeting.
did you get a farm when you went?
Yeah, I ordered.
Okay.
Anything else?
So have you been trained in how to set up the meeting room yet?
now I more or less can do it.
More or less?
Yeah. less is more.
You've got
Cochran.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 people pointed that out to me. I didn't see it. Thank you, Heather.
Mark for a reason.
Well, I don't want to have to watch Nick walk into the meeting again and roll his eyes like,
Oh, gosh.
oh my God.
You gotta do everything.
You took your life.
We're gonna do like the the firehouse does and do drills about pulling the equipment out and putting it away and make sure we got that down.
That's not a bad idea, really.
I like your article on the NPR.
Good, thank you. I think they had the numbers on the houses wrong, but it was a fun interview to do.
They all try.
They all try.
They'll try hard.
Well, Chris, thanks to people here for letting us have our meeting here.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
nice to
To do this.
It's gonna be a full-blown conference center.
Yeah. What office space?
TV, everything you can imagine. Little mics that sit right in front of each person. People,
VR headsets or either.
not quite. And there'll actually be speakers that people can actually hear what people are saying here.
Mm, great.
All right. Well, if nothing else, a motion
I
to
make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, work session of July or June 3rd is over. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, okay there, big guy.
Thank you, audience.
You too.
All right.
All right, thank you guys.